Hi, my name's Suzanne Dale and Wigglebottom, and I write children's books, poetry, and affirmation cards, and I also knit blankets and I do write ups. And this is for my charity Stop All Domestic Violence and the business Stop All Domestic Violence. And today I'm going to read a story called Lizzy the Lamb. Lizzy the lamb was a happy little lamb. Most of the time she spent time with other lambs and sheep in the paddock. She would follow the flock like the good little lamb that she was. She listened to herself, to her small voice inside her inner knowing that told her the truth. She was very comfortable to stay small, not make a fuss, to stand out, and to follow the leader. She was younger and also the black sheep of the family. She was very different from other family members. She kept her head down and failed to take notice as to what was really going on. She followed the crowd as she was taught to do, so she felt safe. Then Lizzy saw that other lambs were lining up to get a shot. They did this because they were told it was good for them by their masters. The lambs were all scared little lambs, but none of the lambs or sheep ever knew what was really in these shots and if they were safe. They just believed it was okay because their masters said they were okay. Lizzy thought, no, that's not right. It may not be safe to take this shot. She was hesitant. The small voice inside her said, no, don't line up like the other lambs. It might not be safe. Lizzy was called selfish and crazy for not trusting the masters. She did not want to be a sheep in her life, but to follow her gut. Then Lizzy saw something that frightened her. One of the sheep that got the shot collapsed. Lizzy went over to her to see if she could help, but the lamb was gone. Her heart had stopped. So Lizzy went over to the line of sheep to warn them. She said, look what happened to that lamb. She's gone. You need to stop getting the shot so you don't die. But Lizzy got taken away by one of the workers who were organising the shots. They silenced her, put a muzzle on her and took her away. They did not want her to speak out and to stop the sheep getting the shots. Once she was let out back into the paddock, she did not want to be part of what was going on. Some other lambs who did not get shots were there too. So this group of lambs and sheep kept together so they were safe. They wanted to show support to each other. Gradually, more and more lambs and sheep stopped outside the line and joined the other lambs who refused to get the shot. More and more sheep dropped dead or got sick. They wished they had listened to Lizzy and had listened to their gut instinct, so they knew what to do. Soon there were hardly any sheep and lambs left. Lots of brave sheep went over to talk to the lambs and sheep to warn them to stop lining up to get the shot. The workers tried to stop the sheep from telling the lambs the truth. They wanted to hide the truth because the workers and others were all making money out of the shot for those in charge. The lambs had really been lambs to the slaughter. It's also very important to watch out for wolves who are in sheep's clothing, though, as they pretend to be good but are not. For you to not fall off a cliff like a sheep, or to be asleep like a sheep. But there were other bad results from these shots. The meat from these lambs and sheep got sold to the supermarket for people as good, healthy meat to eat, when it was not good at all and had poison in it. So the people who ate the meat also got sick, and they also died from the shot, or they got terrible medical conditions as a result. Lizzy needed to get this information of death and destruction out. Whatever you do, don't be docile like a sheep. and wake up and be aware. Don't end up in this mess. The gig the controllers used was nearly up because the point of their goal was exposed to all. This narrative was now seen by all the lambs and sheep all over the world, so that it stopped. All lambs and sheep stood together to support and help each other and stop this from happening anymore. And Lizzy learnt an important life lesson from this. She learnt that she can lift her head up high and don't be afraid to speak out to the people so they understand what was happening and to stay safe. She did not want to stay silent about this. The sheep were easy to fool. They could not see that the grass was not greener on the other side. Those in charge were drip feeding the lambs the truth, so they were not aware what was really happening. The lambs and sheep had become sacrificial lambs to the slaughter. It was very sad to watch and to see and not to be able to help or stop what was happening. The lambs had become blind, and they innocently believed their masters. The sheep and lambs who were shot were now becoming another species. Their DNA was permanently changed. It was a slow kill that was happening while the sheep were being marinated from the shot. They were actually marinating in their own juice. They were even happy to be muzzled, as if it was normal. Lizzy thought to herself, we need to find a way to raise hope so this species keeps going and does not die a slow death. The sheep and lambs were programmed into what they should believe. Some sheep looked around to find a scapegoat to blame for all of this. Those in charge of the sheep and lambs were really to blame, as they would just follow and obey orders. But the oppressors didn't care. They just kept going with this mindless game. The lambs and the sheep were just quietly lining up and then dropping dead one by one. It was like they were walking off a precipice. The death count was mounting. One doctor said it was 2 billion sheep and lambs were now injured, and was 20 million, 2 billion sheep and lambs were now injured, and it was 20 million dead, and it was still growing. What was it going to stop this insanity? It was an endless array of death and destruction. Whatever you do, don't be docile like a sheep, and wake up and be aware, and don't end up in this mess. The gig the controllers used was nearly up because the point of their goal was exposed to all. The narrative was now seen by all lambs and sheep all over the world, so that it was stopped. All lambs and sheep stood together to support, help each other, and stop this from happening anymore. Lizzy learnt an important life lesson from this. She learnt that she can lift her head up high and don't be afraid to speak out and have a voice. She also learnt not to follow the crowd and to be a sheep in life. Also, not to stay small, that she can create good and do it in a large way that helps everyone. And the moral of this story is listen to your heart and the small voice inside you so you know what to do. Thank you, and if you like this story, you can press the like button and you can also subscribe to our page.